pharmacist, autumn bear, acupuncturist, herbal enthusiast, food lover, dog lover, and feng shui practitioner. And actually, that relates a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk a little bit about Chinese astrology and how that relates to healthcare. So Chinese astrology is one of those things that it looks at things a little bit differently than the Western astrology. Chinese astrology has a lot to do with what we call the 5 elements. And the 5 elements are basically wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And those 5 elements are considered to be in every aspect of life. So, and most Chinese philosophy is actually based on nature, because when the beginnings of these philosophies came about, 5,000 years ago, they looked towards what was available and around them to make these metaphors. And what better than nature itself, because that was the most abundant source of their lives. Everybody was living in an outdoor world. So the 5 elements were really important, and so you'll hear a lot of this 5-element vocabulary that goes around in Chinese medicine as well as feng shui and Chinese philosophy. So the 5 elements, as they relate to astrology, basically means that every person contains some aspect of the 5 elements, and the personality traits that come with those aspects are going to be either enhanced or decreased based on the time and place that we're born. And each year has an element that it's ruled by. So there's a lot of this kind of power play that goes on in the astrological charts. And those can either make us well or kind of, drain us in some way. And if we're not prepared for that, sometimes it can make and exacerbate everything that we're already experiencing, which is very similar to what we would consider in Western astrology. So the 5 elements, fire is something that is a hot component of our personality that's moving. It's about desire. It's about love. It's about, how our personalities, if we're very gregarious, we all know those people who they show up at a party and they are like the life of a party. And the minute they start to laugh, the laughter just spreads like fire, basically. So that's an aspect of fire. Wood is a little bit more the goal-oriented aspect of ourselves. This is about setting goals and, being organized and kind of, moving forward and having that motivation to get things accomplished that we want to accomplish. The earth element is really about the nourishment of self. It's about that motherly love. This tends to be someone who's much more nurturing, who's, always the caretaker. You go to their house and they always have food available somehow. It's like they miraculously pull out like a 7-course meal from, their cupboards. And they always want to feed you and care for you and check in on you. And that's a very Mother Earth type of experience. Metal is what we would consider the structure of our lives. Metal people tend to be extremely organized, and everything is sorted in such a way, and it's all got its place, and everything is just exactly precise. It's about precision. And then we have water, which is about flow, right? So the aspect of water is about how we move and how we take things on. The best example I can give is, if a river is flowing, if there's enough water, then no matter what it faces, if there's a boulder in the middle of the river, it's just going to go up and around and over. And it's seemingly insignificant, and the water element is very much like that. So when you have your Chinese astrology charts done, basically it looks at these 5 elements, how much you have of each of those elements in your chart, and you're always going to have a strength in one element. So in my chart, I actually have a balance of all the elements in terms of the total number, but I have a real deficiency of wood. So that by nature means that I'm going to be, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to make decisions, a little bit harder for me to, accomplish my goals. I always have to struggle to make those happen. But, that's just how life goes. The wood elements related to the liver and the gallbladder. So a lot of people who have a deficiency of wood in their charts will probably have some sort of issue with those particular organs, and each element has its organ base. So water is the bladder and the kidneys, wood is gallbladder and liver, fire is the heart, the small intestine, the pericardium, which is the lining around the heart, and what we call the sanjiao, which is a Chinese medical term. Earth is about the stomach and the spleen, no surprise there. And metal is about the lungs and the large intestines. So it's always interesting to look at those aspects of yourself. And when you have your charts done, you know where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are. And then when that year comes along, you know, this, for example, this is the year of the wood horse. So wood is going to be really strong. If you have a weakness of wood, that may actually build you up and make those aspects of your life stronger. And if you have too much of that element, it may actually cause you to kind of go all sorts of haywire. So anyway, it's a really interesting aspect of astrology. It can definitely affect your health as they're related to those organs. So it's worth taking a look at to see what you have in your charts, and just to take a peek and see where your health might ride for the years to come.